What's going on, everybody? I'm Big C90210 from TeamSEO.com and the No Blueprints blog, and this is tutorial number 2 in our 7 Days to Die modern series. So, we just finished our first video, which inside that we covered how to edit a recipe. What we're going to cover now is how to create a new recipe for an item that already exists, but has no recipe. So, having a quick look around the UI. On the right hand side we have currently used items and we have all item index. So in all item index you'll see that Reload has just seen my Wolfenstein video, so I'm just going to quickly yeah. So anyway, now that we've got this set to all item index, you'll be able to see that absolutely everything in the game is available to us. So just as an example, for this particular mattress, there is no recipe. But I know you don't want to make mattresses in game, you probably want to make something cool. So in this exercise, we are going to create a recipe for a chainsaw. Now at the minute, there is no recipe for a chainsaw. So we have to press new recipe, and we can look through our list of stuff and find chainsaw. And we're going to click create and edit. So at the minute, this chainsaw recipe is made up by one piece of dirt, which is a bit weird. So let's make ourselves a chainsaw. So we're probably going to need a air filter. We're going to need some, say, tungsten here, tungsten here. We're going to need some iron ingot. Have a look, ingot. Iron ingot there, iron ingot there. Need some barbed wire. So I'm not sure which one it is. Which one was barbed wire or barbed wire crafted? I think it's this one. Barbed wire here to represent like the blades and stuff. What else could we put on here? Could use a beaker. So that's how you fill it. But like, so imagine you pour the petrol into here and then it goes into this thing. You could even use, let's have a look, is there any pistol parts or something? Pistol trigger house, and we could put here, and then that's what we could use to rev it up or something like that. But anyway, you get the idea. So you can, here is our schematic for chainsaw, so we can save this to disk now. Now, it's as simple as that for creating recipes for things which are already in the game. The item already exists, but there is no recipe for it. So now we've just created a one for a chainsaw. But what we could do is, if we want, we can use some of the extra features of this. Let's just have a look at some of the extra features. So there's a scratch pad here, which is, to be honest, it's the whole point of a scratch pad is just so if you've got ideas, you can kind of use it kind of like a notepad, so you can just stick that there and leave that for later, and it doesn't really have any use. It's just something for you to copy and paste to. But what we can do is Bloodslinger's recipe editor allows us to create archives. So it's like if you go to Recipe Archive Manager, there's a couple of archives here by default. But just as an example, say you wanted to make your own archive, click Edit Archives, and then this means new. We can say Big C's Custom Recipes. All of my best recipes. So just kind of like as a second layer of defense if you're destroying your own stuff. What it means that if I wanted to save this recipe for later on, or if I just wanted to make a backup of it, I could archive it, send it to Big C's Custom Recipes. Now, if I go to Recipe Archive Manager, here is my chainsaw recipe, and I can either, if I right click on it, I can import it into the main and that would put it back into my current recipe list. So if I delete this recipe, I no longer can make a chainsaw. If I go to the archive manager, I can import it back so that it's back in the recipe file. You can actually have multiples of the same recipe. So just as an example, in your archives, that is. So if we decided that barbed wire was a bad idea and we just wanted metal strips instead of barbed wire, like that, I could then archive that recipe, the Big C's custom recipes, and then when you go there, we have two different chainsaw recipes here, and we can see that this one's the one with metal strips, this one's the one with barbed wire. And it just means like sometimes you might want to have an easier to make recipe, or you might want a harder to make recipe depending on what your server is, or you might want multiple recipes of it's entirely up to you, but at least the archiving system enables you to make lots of different recipes and just keep them all in one place safe. And also as well, it means that, say the Fun Pimps bring out a new version of 7 Days to Die and your recipe file gets wiped, it means you can just import all of these from your archives back into your current recipe file. So that's pretty much it. So in this video, we've covered the Scratchpad, what it's used for, which is basically keeping text. We've shown you how to make a new recipe for an existing item. That's important. New recipe for an existing item. So just as an example, I mean, the most common ones are chainsaw and auger, because that's what people always want to make. But if you wanted to make something like a gas sign, if you wanted to make a craftable or a gun store sign or whatever, then it means that you can give people the opportunity to make stuff that they couldn't normally make. So there's a gas mask, gas pump, gas sign. So we could make a gas pump. We could make it with an oil barrel. I don't know, what would you make it out of? Beaker. Kind of stuff we gotta make thingy pump with. Guessing we're gonna have to make a short metal pipe. So a beaker, an oil barrel, and 3 short metal pipes, and say that makes a gas pump. So we can save that to disk. We can open up Steam. Just die. Remember, normally you wouldn't be able to make a gas pump. The item exists in the game, but you wouldn't normally be able to make it. So let's just have a look. Got an oil barrel. We want a beaker. We want short iron pipe. And gas pump recipe. And that's a gas pump. Now, if you notice there that only took 5 seconds to make, and then we can rotate it round like this, and then hey, we just made a gas pump. And then we can now blow up a gas pump. Further customization of this recipe can be done in the editor. So just as an example, we made this gas pump here. Do you want a gas pump to be scrappable? Yeah, probably not. So we'll set that to false. You don't want people to be able to pick up a gas pump. Weird. So crafting time, it might say 15 seconds. And then everything else is pretty straightforward. So yeah, that pretty much covers this video. Next time we'll be making new items which don't currently exist in the game, which is where it's going to get a little bit more complicated. But in the meantime, you should now be comfortable editing current items as well as creating new recipes for items that already exist. So I shall see you guys in video number 3. I'm Big C90210. If you like this video, please leave me a like, comment, or subscribe. One more thing to say is that these recipes are usable if you host a server. So recipes.xml file is all server side. If you edit the recipe file on the server, then it means when people connect to your server, they will be able to use your new modded recipes. If you are doing this yourself, you can use your custom recipes when playing locally only, or if you're hosting the game, people will use your modded files. If you go onto someone else's server, then you will use their recipe file. So it's important when you play a multiplayer game to check out what recipes for things are, because sometimes they might be changed if the server's modded. Anyway, that's some food for thought, and I shall see you guys next time.